Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Hello.
Today we're taking a look at a set of sources unpacking a major legal development, really in the world of professional sports.
Yeah.
Our mission, give you a clear, concise understanding of the recent verdict in the Wander Franco case.
Yeah.
Try to cut through the noise, get to the facts.
It's a truly complex case, and the material we've looked at gives a pretty detailed view. The legal side, the charges, the implications.
Right.
We're mostly drawing from a recent CBS News report. It's dated June 26, 2025, just to get everyone up to speed on, what happened and why it matters so much.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Good.
So our sources are saying Wander Franco, suspended Tampa Bay Rays shortstop, found guilty of sex abuse. This was in the Dominican Republic, Thursday, June 26th.
Correct.
And it came with a 2-year suspended sentence. Now, for you listening, suspended means he won't necessarily serve immediate prison time, right?
Yeah.
Assuming he follows certain rules.
Exactly. He has to adhere to specific conditions the court set. But what's really interesting, I think, is how the legal process sorted through the different charges.
Yeah, let's go there.
So to really get the verdict, we kind of have to rewind to the original accusations.
Okay.
The CBS report lays it out. Franco was accused of a relationship about 4 months with a girl who was 14 at the time.
14.
Yes. And also accused of sending thousands of dollars to her mother. The allegation was this was payment for consent to the relationship. This context is pretty crucial.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets, well, really interesting for understanding the verdict itself. He was found guilty of sex abuse, yes. But the sources are clear. Franco, who's 24 now, was found not guilty of other, frankly, much more serious charges.
Right.
Specifically, sexual and commercial exploitation against a minor and human trafficking. Can you maybe explain why that distinction is so vital? What does that tell us?
It's absolutely critical. So in the Dominican system, sex abuse in this kind of context, it often points to the basic illegality of a sexual relationship with a minor. Consent isn't really the issue legally at that age.
Okay.
But those other charges, exploitation, trafficking, they would have needed proof of something more, like coercion, force, or, a bigger scheme to profit from the minor.
Right, like a commercial element.
Exactly. And it seems that the court, based on our sources, didn't find enough evidence that Franco himself did those more severe things. But the relationship itself, still illegal because of her age.
That makes sense. But it also brings up the role of others involved, doesn't it?
It does.
Like the girl's mother. She was also found guilty, and she will serve a full prison term. Prosecutors actually wanted 5 years for Franco, but 10 years for the mother.
10 years, yeah. And the judge, Jacaira Veras-Garcia, she didn't hold back on the mother.
No.
She apparently said, and this is a quote, apparently she was the one who thought she was handling the bat in the big leagues. Yeah, this was apparently in response to the mother asking Franco to pay for schooling and other things for the daughter. It's quite a statement from a judge.
It really is.
Yeah.
Very pointed. And she wasn't exactly easy on Franco either, was she?
No, not at all. The judge turned right to him. The sources quote her saying, "Look at us, Wander. Do not approach minors for sexual purposes."
Direct.
Very. If you don't like people very close to your age, you have to wait your time. I mean, you don't often hear judges speak quite that candidly. It really underlines how seriously the court viewed his actions.
So beyond just the legal outcome, what do those kinds of direct statements tell us about the court's overall stance here, maybe even more broadly?
Well, I think they tell us quite a bit. The judge also said, very plainly, the court has understood that this minor was manipulated.
Manipulated.
Yeah. So if you put that together with the other comments, it shows, I think, the court's really deep concern for, the vulnerability of minors and how they saw the power dynamics in this specific relationship. It wasn't just about the act itself, but this element of manipulation.
Okay, so we have the verdict, we have the judge's strong words. What about appeals? What happens next legally?
Good question. Franco's lawyer, Irina Ventura, straight away said they'd appeal. Her quote was, "Evidently, justice was not done." So clearly unhappy.
Right.
On the other side, the prosecutor, Luis Martinez, he seemed satisfied with the rulings overall, but he didn't actually confirm if the government would appeal anything.
So more legal battles potentially ahead.
Yeah, you can probably expect more legal moves. Both sides are likely weighing their options right now.
And getting to this verdict, Judge Veras called it a somewhat complex process. The reporting mentions prosecutors brought a lot of evidence, testimony from, 31 witnesses?
31, yeah. And the judge apparently spent over an hour just doing her oral review before delivering the verdict.
So it sounds like a pretty thorough trial process.
It certainly seems that way from the reporting. Lots of evidence considered.
Now, stepping back from the courtroom, the impact on his career, this is huge, isn't it?
Oh, massive. I mean, this was the Tampa Bay Rays star shortstop. Signed that enormous contract back in November 2021.
$182 million one.
That's the one. 11 years through 2032. And then, boom. Career just stopped cold in August 2023. He was only 22. That's when the Dominican authorities started investigating.
And then things just kept getting more complicated for him, legally speaking.
Right. Because while he was actually awaiting this trial on conditional release, he got arrested again.
Another arrest. When was this?
November of last year. So while this case was pending,
What happened?
the authorities described it as some kind of altercation, apparently over a woman's attention. And that led to a charge of illegally carrying a gun, a semi-automatic Glock 19.
Okay.
Police said it was registered to his uncle, not him. But that charge, illegally carrying the weapon, that case is actually still pending in court, according to the sources.
Wow. So one case resolved, sort of, pending appeal.
Yeah.
And another one still active.
Exactly. And back to the baseball side, he was formally arrested in January 2024 for the main case. Then 6 months later, the Rays put him on the restricted list.
Which cut off his pay.
Right. And for you listening, the restricted list in baseball, that's often used when a player just can't report to the team. Maybe legal reasons, maybe visa issues.
Which is the issue here too, right? He needed a new U.S. visa.
Correct. Couldn't get one while under investigation, couldn't report to the team. So onto the restricted list he went, no pay.
So with this verdict now in, how's the Major League Baseball reacting? What are they saying?
Well, MLB put out a brief statement, pretty standard, really.
What does it say?
Noted their joint policy, the one covering domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, said it, quote, reflects our commitment to these issues.
Standard language.
Yeah. They confirmed they know about the verdict and said they'll finish their own investigation at the, quote, appropriate time.
Ah, the classic appropriate time.
Exactly. So what that really means, when they'll conclude, what action they might take, that's still unclear. The interesting thing might be looking at how they've handled similar situations under this policy before.
Right. What this specific verdict might trigger internally for them? Still TBD.
Definitely still to be determined.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. Let's distill the key takeaways for you from this Wander Franco verdict. We've really unpacked the core facts, haven't we?
I think so.
The specific charge, he was found guilty of sex abuse. How the court separated that from the more severe exploitation and trafficking charges he was acquitted of.
Right. That distinction is key.
Then the sentence is suspended for him, prison for the mother, the immediate reactions, appeal promise from his side, prosecution satisfied for now.
Mm-hmm. And the huge impact on his career, that massive contract, now totally up in the air, plus that other pending legal case.
Absolutely, it's a lot.
It is. And this case, like so many involving public figures, it really highlights this complex interplay, doesn't it, between different legal systems, public opinion, how institutions like MLB respond.
Yeah.
We heard how the court really emphasized manipulation. We saw the very different takes on justice from the lawyers and these ongoing questions about his future in baseball.
So as you reflect on all this we've discussed today, maybe consider this. When you have a legal outcome, like this one guilty verdict, but a suspended sentence, immediate talk of appeals, how does that affect how we, the public, think about what justice really looks like in these high-profile situations?
That's a great question. And what are those ripple effects, beyond just the courtroom? For his career, sure, but also maybe for league policies, for how these things are handled going forward. Lots to think about.